Hey RATBAGGERS, it's Jade with a Core Keeper video today, taking a look at what the future holds for the game now it's out on consoles 1.0 and everything else. More content is coming if you didn't realise. They plan to keep updating Core Keeper very much, I think, in the same kind of vein as Terraria received tons of updates after its full release. So what to expect in 2025? We're going to digest that today and talk about some of the smaller updates that have gone live on PC and console recently. Absolutely love Core Keeper. It's just a case of having some new content to really get into it back again. I did do 100 days of Core Keeper, so if you've never really seen it or heard too much about it, I'd recommend you go and watch it. Although maybe skip the last 10 minutes so you don't spoil it too much if you decide to go and buy it and face off against all the bosses that I did. Absolutely my favourite game release of 2025, and I will be covering it absolutely rapidly if there's any new news about the new content and of course when it arrives with brand new updates. So they start off with the blog by saying their new graphic doesn't list all of their updates, but just some of them. And the first update is going to be coming early 2025. It's called Bags and Blasts. I'm really intrigued by this. They did set up, or they are setting up, some sort of feedback loop on the brand new website where you can offer suggestions about what you want to see improved or added to Core Keeper. I think it's fairly new to what system they had before. I've been meaning to have a look and give my opinion. I've told you guys in the past, I definitely want to see some more improvements or some sort of new game mode, basically a hard game mode that you can activate in game. But other than that, Core Keeper's had some amazing quality of life content and drops already in the last few months since its full release. So yeah, Bags and Blasts. I can only presume they're going to be offering more inventory space somehow. A bit like Minecraft with the bags that you can now make bundles of and effectively store more resources. Definitely a bit of an issue in Core Keeper, the fact that you have to keep dropping so much off, but it does mean that you do make regular trips back to your base. And with the adjustments they made with inventory sorting in their last update, adding more space to stuff is really going to help a lot of players, I think. But the blast element is pretty interesting. We have got kind of the beginnings of making different types of builds. I mean, there are massive builds you can make, particularly centered on melee or ranged and obviously with the magic. But some of them are maybe underlooked or overlooked. Depends on what you think about demolition, having a like explosive or tech kind of class. So maybe this relates to that. It does look very much like a grenade. Could it be potentially new ways to basically mess around with explosives? It's a part of Core Keeper, although many people probably don't use it by the time they get some of the better drills and items to go blasting. But yeah, there's a ton of different dynamites you can make in the game. It's got to be a bit more than just that though. I can't imagine this is just simply adding some quality of life stuff with more increased inventory and just add in some new explosives. What if it's a new biome that you can't get into until you actually craft and use the right explosives? Or what if it's a case of mining for a certain new resource that allows you to craft even bigger bombs? I'm dreaming here, or maybe going way overboard, but imagine if it was nuclear. Huge blast that could clear out areas for people that want to make massive bases or do huge pixel art in survival worlds. Anyway, that's just my hypothesis, and that is coming early 2025. It is going to be a major update, so I would expect it to have a ton of content. Core Keeper during its early access run had these kind of updates and they were always massive, usually adding a brand new biome, new gear, new resources, new ways to play. So I imagine the same is going to be here. At the moment you can get to the end of Core Keeper, there is a wall that you just cannot break through. And they said they put this in place so that they could potentially add new biomes or new areas to explore after 1.0. So maybe that's what the blast will do. It'll help us get into the new areas. Then shortly after, well maybe not that shortly after, but in spring we're going to have a minor update. This is the kind of thing that I would expect to see lots of quality of life stuff, maybe some new tailored events or a bit of a revamping of some of their events or something along them lines. And then they've got a major update happening in autumn. Now that does seem like a bit of a big jump, but it's effectively what they had in early access, a good sort of 3 to maybe 5 months gap in between, so they could work on larger updates with small updates added. And judging by this one image, I would expect it to focus heavily on maybe improving automation, adding new ways to sort stuff, basically making that side of things a bit more interesting. Core Keeper's got the basics of it, obviously, but it needs definitely a little bit more love. The ability to have your actual droppers or your arms being able to choose what resources it picks would be able to create massive better sorting inventory systems. Right now, a lot of the automation in the game is simply just maybe not worth it. You set up your drills to go and dig some of the larger ore points, that's good. But beyond that, overcomplicating stuff with huge mob farms and ways to go and sort your inventory, it just requires way too much effort. So any way to simplify that or make it a bit more interesting could be good. But obviously there may be more to it than that. Obviously it hasn't got a title for that one. And still apparently more to come. So I'm more or less happy with that. A game that's actually fully released, getting 2 major updates in the year. Some small quality life ones. And as they said, there's even more incoming. And we're going to start seeing even more teasers. This is something I showed you guys a little while ago. On their social media, they're starting to reveal a little bit more from their notes of the underground. And apparently if we pay a good amount of attention, we might start seeing some hints about what to expect. We could potentially see cicadas being an actual full-blown big enemy, rather than maybe just like the semi-style boss. Depending on how you look at it, Gorm is kind of one of these, I think. But we've seen the shells of these guys laying around, so imagine some of these being the next bosses. And a few days ago, an update has gone live pretty much for PC at the moment. Fixes a bunch of stuff, lots to do with connection and reliability, and also helping a lot with PC usage. So I guess you could play it potentially more with lower end systems or have better graphics on. They've added a vibration toggle with a vibration intensity slider in the gameplay settings, lots of text and translation issues fixed, changed some of the descriptions of a few items, and then a bunch of stuff like with particular items, like the rift lens working properly in front of pillars, no more flickering when removing map markers, phantom sparks should no longer mispredict causing multiple ghosts to be spawned on the client side, beam weapons should now be able to damage walls from any angle, animation for players getting damaged would sometimes play even though they weren't getting damaged, digging damage stat not being applied when digging blocks out the ground, worm enemies and gorms should now be targetable by pets and minions, structures that occupy multiple tiles should no longer be placeable when a player is standing between 2 tiles. The core will no longer repeat its wake up dialogue after players defeat all titans and hydras. And the entrance points of a dungeon can no longer spawn on top of each other. Most notably, this fixes an issue where the Asios dungeon's ancient waypoint was overwritten by the dungeon's other entrances. Ursulium should no longer automatically respawn when reloading a world when it was defeated. And it's no longer possible for enemies to engage with the mammoth fossil that could be found in the scene in the desert beginnings. They've reduced the speed and lifespan of the core commander's all projectiles, and projectiles should now collide with and deal damage to players along their entire path. So that's gone live on PC, and I imagine that will come to Xbox and PlayStation in the next few weeks. And other than being nominated for some Steam awards, that is pretty much it with Core Keeper at the moment. So absolutely love the game. I just simply have to carry on making new content on newer games now, as I kind of have done everything I can think of really in Core Keeper. Bar maybe starting up a hardcore world, or a few guides on a few of the legendary weapons that I never managed to get around to getting. But I do feel like some of their moments have kind of come and gone now. Views have definitely dropped for it, but it's still got a really healthy player base. Core Keeper obviously still fairly new, and it's got a lot more of a player base than some games that have just released that you would expect to be pretty hyped. But yeah, I don't want to set your expectations. If you're thinking of subscribing, I cover lots of games like Grounded, like Power World, like Small Land, and 2025 is going to be no different. There's a whole bunch of new games going to be covering, like Aloft, and continuing taking a look at new ones like Voyages of Nera, Taz at Agasbar, and even Console Raft at the moment. But rest assured, as soon as there is any brand new Core Keeper news, I'll be there to let you guys know what the story is and hopefully deliver you what you need to know. So until next time, Ratbags, I'll catch you later.